It seems like everywhere you look these days, AI is either going to be our savior or it's going to, like, take over the world, you know? But you, our awesome listener, you sent us something that really cuts through all that noise. An article by a tech writer who's been around the block a few times. And get this, they think all this AI anxiety might actually just a good thing.
Huh. That's a new spin, isn't it? Because usually it's all robots are coming for our jobs. But this is like, what if that fear actually pushed us to up our game?
Yeah, like use that pressure to make us sharper, better.
Right. And that's the heart of what this writer's getting at. It's less about, some Terminator future and more about how we adapt to the tech that's already here.
Because it's not like we'll all be replaced by robots overnight.
Right.
Right, but maybe we get left behind by the folks who figured out how to make AI work for them.
And that's where the whole AI augmented worker idea comes in, which we'll definitely dig into more later. But just think, someone who knows how to use these AI tools well, they're not just keeping up, they're suddenly way more efficient, more creative, more valuable to their employers.
So it's less like human versus machine and more like
Mhm.
human with machine, totally leaving everyone else in the dust.
That's a great way to put it. And it actually reminded me of how people freaked out about other tech shifts, like, remember automation in factories, or when everyone thought the internet would be the end of, well, everything.
Oh, for sure. Huge disruptions, and tons of people were worried about losing their jobs.
Right. And yeah, jobs changed, no doubt, but the folks who thrived, they were the ones who adapted, who saw the opportunity in all that change.
So maybe history is repeating itself.
Yeah.
Only this time, it's not just about learning some new software. It's about figuring out how AI fits into what you already do to become, like you were saying, AI augmented.
And a big part of that is understanding what this new world even looks like, right? Like what tools are already out there? How are people using them well?
Well, lucky for us, the article actually dives into all that. The author talks about experimenting with a bunch of different AI programs themselves.
Yeah, and that personal touch is so helpful because it's not just theory anymore, right? It's someone actually using AI for stuff like writing, even creating images. They even mention specific programs like Adobe Firefly, DLE, Ideogram, that kind of thing.
Okay, let's break those down a bit for our listener because those names might sound like something out of, I don't know, a sci-fi movie if you're not familiar. So like Adobe Firefly,
Yeah.
it's wild, right?
Yeah.
Designers are using it to whip up images, designs, all kinds of stuff just by describing what they want.
It's like having a million brainstorming partners who also happen to be Photoshop wizards.
Right. And then there's Dilly. Now that one's just, I don't even know. Like you could tell, show me a cat wearing a monocle riding unicycle on the moon. It would just do it.
Pretty much. That's the crazy thing about Delhi. It can generate these incredibly realistic images from, like, nothing, just based on your description.
Blows my mind. And then you've got Ideogram, which is all about fonts and logos, right?
Yep. It's a huge help for anyone who's ever, like, gone down the font rabbit hole, hours wasted, just trying to find the perfect one.
Been there.
Yeah.
So seeing these programs in action, even just hearing about them, it makes this whole AI augmented worker thing way less, I don't know, intimidating.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, this isn't about AI replacing creativity.
It's about giving us totally new ways to be creative.
Yes. Like imagine a painter who used to have to like grind their own pigments and all that
Oh, yeah, the old school way.
versus they walk into a store and there's just every color imaginable ready to go. Still an artist, but with way more possibilities,
100%. And that's what I think gets lost in all the hype. These AI tools, they're just that. Tools. Powerful tools, sure, but they don't replace the human using them.
Which is where I feel like a lot of the fear comes in,
Right.
that we're all going to be obsolete.
Right, right.
But this article, it really drives home that it's not about the AI itself. It's how we choose to use it.
Totally. Remember that story in the article about Susan from accounting?
Oh, yeah, Susan.
She learned how to use AI to, like, totally streamline her work while everyone else was still doing things the old way.
And suddenly she's the office hero. Like, Susan's not just crunching numbers. She's finding insights nobody else even knew existed. Susan's the data whisperer now.
Exactly. Might be a funny story, but it makes you think, right? In a world where tech's always changing, the people who are learning, experimenting, those are the ones who get ahead.
So it's less, oh no, I don't want to be replaced by Susan, and more, how can it be more like Susan?
There you go. And the cool thing is we can all be Susan in our own ways. It just takes that curiosity, that willingness to try new things and see how this stuff can actually make us better at what we do.
So yeah, maybe instead of being scared of the machines taking over, this is our chance to like level up our own game. It's almost like this whole AI thing is less about, some robot uprising and more like an invitation or something.
An invitation to what? What do you mean?
To like step up our game, to become more adaptable, more creative, more Susan from accounting.
Uh-huh. I like that. And you're right. It's about realizing we're not just along for the ride with all this new tech.
Exactly. And that's actually something I found super interesting about this article. It's not just on us as individuals to upskill, is it? There's a bigger picture here, right?
You're hitting on a really important point. We talk a lot about AI ethics, right? Like, is it biased? Is it fair? But what about the ethics of the people building it, using it? That's where your expertise comes in, your values.
Whoa, okay. Say more about that, because that's kind of blowing my mind a little.
Well, think about it. Every job, every industry, they've all got their own rules, their own code of how things work, what's right and wrong. As AI becomes a bigger part of all that, it's up to the people in those fields to make sure it's being used for good, that it's actually working and doing it ethically.
So it's not just about learning the AI tools, but also like guiding them,
Mm-hmm.
making sure they actually reflect the values of our own professions.
Exactly. If you're a writer worried about AI spitting out generic content, maybe you become the person who helps build tools that help writers find their own voice. Tools that make human creativity even better, not obsolete. Or if you're a teacher, maybe you figure out how to use AI to create custom lessons for each student, making learning more engaging.
So this article is like a double dose of, you got this.
Yeah.
Not only can you handle these changes, but you can actually help shape them.
Yeah, and to bring it back to your earlier point, it's not just about being Susan from accounting. It's about being the Susan who not only rocks the AI tools, but makes sure those tools benefit everybody, not just a lucky few. And that's a future worth working towards, right?
Absolutely. Huge thanks to our listener for sending us this article. Really got us thinking beyond just like, what job do I need to retrain for? And to everyone listening, what are your thoughts on all this? How do you think we can shape AI in your field? Let us know, because honestly, this conversation is just getting started.